Welcome to Research Matters with Unda and Kuda, an online show that is all about communicating the research taking place at NUST in efforts to promote the university's research agenda and the impact thereof.
You heard it right. It is time for Research Matters with Unda and Kuda right here on NUST FM. Another episode, another exciting guest in studio, and I'll give Kuda the honors of introducing our guest for this morning.
You know, when you actually just mentioned there another exciting guest, when somebody walks in, you can always feel the vibe, hey, and you know when it's going to be good. And this is certainly one of them that's going to be good. Now, today we have Dr. Davy Julian du Plessis in the house. He's a senior lecturer in the Department of Governance and Management Sciences. Like I said, his energy
is out of this world.
Is out of this world. But we're quite excited. Now, Doctor, let's just dive right into it. Welcome. But now, if you could describe yourself with just one word, what would that word be and why?
I would say compassionate. And when I say compassionate, I mean if I believe in a case, I will go the extra mile till the end. And for me, the students, as a teacher for 20 years at that time at Jan Moore, that was almost 15 years back or 12 years back, I can't even recall. And for me, is about compassionate not only with your lips, but with your actions.
Your deeds.
Don't say I care, and only with there must be action.
I like that. Well said. Unda, over to you.
Now, Doctor, if you had to talk about your childhood, what would you say, contributed, especially leading you into the career path that you have now taken?
I grew up in Rehoboth. That was not a luxury childhood life, but at least there was a lot of discipline. Particularly my father. Oh, he was hard on discipline. And that's why.
Did you get a beating? Did you?
Oh, yes. No. That was, I think it's now today, you would end up in jail permanently, but let his soul rest in peace.
And more importantly, did you deserve it?
Most of the time, I was not involved, but my father believed that if someone didn't do well, then the rest of the brothers and sisters should motivate him or her. And then first the one who failed or didn't get a good progress report from school, then first that person will get a hell of a punishment, and you will always have evidence on your body. And then the rest will start. Ooh. And that's the truth. My mom is still alive. And then for the holiday, from 9 till 2 in the afternoon again, because you didn't support. I think that's why my compassionate and care come from. He most probably didn't do it according to us. Today I understand, because
it's a different world now.
Yeah. But that was his way and say, care for each other by motivating your brother or sister. And we did it. And that's why I think from both my mom and my father's side, we are the only ones who study, all three studied. After grade 12, I have qualifications and stuff like that. But, and I want to quote something. My main supervisor at the time for my PhD told me, and I will always remember that, religion in education is something that you don't need to tell people about. When you are in the company and you open your mouth and you leave the company, they should ask, where do he or she work? What type of work, or is this person a born again? You don't need to tell people with their interaction with you. They should discover your educational background, and they should ask.
So in other words, you should actually live it. Now, just to take you back a little bit, Unda asked, how did you, from your childhood to where you are now? So real quick, how did it all come together?
While others will play in the street, I always did it also in the dusty streets. I always love to teach the whole neighborhood kids, and then I punish them also when all of them cry. I think my love for teaching started there, and I have such wonderful teachers in my school career, and I can even recall some of them today. So I think my teachers at that time instilled in me the love of transferring of knowledge and caring, and I can still remember, I'm still in contact with my grade 8 standard 6 English teacher, and I call them still. I'm a smoker, for example, but I don't smoke in Reebok at all, because what if, and most of them already passed on,
sees you.
What if the teachers see me?
Yeah.
No.
Oh wow, it goes deep, right? Now, we're gonna dive right into it. Now, we know intellectual property is something that is actually very close to your heart, and it's also closely intertwined with universities, as they are hotbeds and knowledge creation. But how do we create this innovation? Maybe that question is a bit packed. Let's just start right from the basics. What are we talking about when we say intellectual property? What is that all about?
Intellectual property is the fruit of your brains. And you think about it, and you need to be compensated for that. Now, if you think quickly about traditional knowledge in Namibia, all different tribes in this country have a certain tradition, or have a lot of traditional knowledge. You remember what I said when COVID hit in 2020? And the people passed on like flies in the first world countries. They are worried what's going to happen in Africa because of our hygiene. And if we think that there are various reasons why our people not opt for the vaccine. They got the COVID, they die, but not as the first world countries expect at the rate that we would die. So I believe there's a lot of traditional medicine. When I got COVID, when I was in the States, someone told me, put Vicks in your nose, in your ears, in your mouth. 2 days later, I was perfectly, after I only put in Vicks.
In your mouth, doctor.
Your mouth, your nose.
I'm trying to, I didn't want to be that person.
Because if you get COVID, ask me. I just arrived from Boston. I was at a conference, in fact. I thought, something is terribly wrong. And I remember it was old year's day. I was on my way to Times Square. And I told my people, and the next minute I thought I sat too long. The next half an hour I felt if I can take my hat off and put it in the freezer. And then I only communicate with my family via voice, written messages. And they say something is wrong, you have COVID. And someone phoned me and said, put Vicks in your ears, your mouth, any open space in your body. The next day I felt much better. I don't know if it's the belief.
Maybe with this COVID one, we're going to have to have another research matters and really unpack it and get all the critics to come in. But just back again to the intellectual property, so now you've told us that's perfect to say it's the fruits of your brain, you said? Yeah. Yes, that's really well said. Now, how do you protect these fruits?
You see, I believe we have BIPA, the Business Intellectual Property in Namibia, and we are member states of ARIPO, the Africa Regional Intellectual Property, ARIPO, and we also have WIPO, the World Intellectual Property Organization. And we are member states of this, and we sign up like, if you think about traditional knowledge, the Swakopmund Protocol was signed in Swakopmund, but still the traditional knowledge of our people, and it's dying out because people don't share and the young ones are not interested. If I can recall quickly back in Reebok, I don't know what is the English equivalent of boerseep. A white soap, they cook it in the big black pots, and there was always excitement. And for the white clothes, there's nothing better than boerseep. But I remember all that aunties passed on who cooked that soap. And that knowledge is down the drain. Later on, I remember it's always have a smell. I didn't like it. Later on, the aunties become so good when Stay-Soft hit the market. They throw in Stay-Soft. And I never ever understand, the body soap that you wash yourself. The small pieces, we never throw it away. It must be in a plastic bag for the cooking. Our neighbor aunt.
Every black home.
Yes, in the black pot. And it was a whole excursion. And it cost one loaf, they call it a loaf, cost when that last auntie passed on, it was, I think, $60 or $80. So many times when I travel to Rehoboth, here from NUST staff, they always order it. And when I think about it now, there's no one selling. I think there are most probably, but I'm not aware in Rehoboth where you can still buy it. Because you can put it even in your washing machine for your white clothing. And there was no stain that was resistant to the bullshit.
So in essence, you're saying that idea was not protected, and also because it wasn't protected, there wasn't any sustainability, so to put it. It wasn't taken forward. Am I getting you right?
Yeah. And BIPA is there, but BIPA have only two mandates: to register new businesses. In fact, this coming Friday, we visit with the marketing entrepreneurship, Ms. Julian du Plessis, and I, with my master's students for commercialization of intellectual property, will visit this coming Friday, BIPA, like I do every year. And one of the students' proposal, SOP, is about what are they doing about only register the business or the IP or the business, forget about registration of businesses, registering the IP. So what after that? Because it's an expensive process. There's lawyers involved, and you need the legal fees, and it's the patent as well. People are not aware. And luckily, and they will confirm it on Friday, that they will bring in a division, and hope it will become a reality for the commercialization of intellectual property.
All right. I think that was a mouthful. We will take a musical break, but maybe Doctor can elaborate as to why this was a song choice, and maybe a shout out to those that assisted you, because I hear through the grapevine that there was assistance in, choosing this one. And this is Spyro and Tiwa Savage with Who Is Your Guy?
Okay. Last night when Kuda said, I don't know music, because my music I love, opera, pop, everything.
Yeah.
Depend on my mood. And I ask, and this number I really dedicate to my master's degree students of 2023, because it's their choice, and it's because of their choice, and it's only ladies. They share it. As Celeste was the one, Tiny, she's in fact a lawyer and a partner at one of these legal companies. So they share it, and so I dedicate this to my CIP students.
Shout out to the class of 2023, Masters students for 2023. That jam didn't get you on your feet on this amazing Tuesday, while Research Matters will try and do just that by informing you and also just helping you ask the right questions in terms of why does research matter, So we have Dr. du Plessis still here in studio, and of course Kuda and I are still here and tackling those important questions you might have.
Yes, now talking about questions, we actually had a very interesting discussion during the break. It's always, when the mic is off, when the great conversation starts. When all the tea comes. But great, we were actually now just talking a little bit more about, as we're focusing on today, commercializing intellectual property. Now, you brought up something very interesting, Doctor. You said, specifically speaking about how closely you work with BIPA and everything, you said our students actually get the problems to solve through their research from BIPA. So they're directly impacting what's happening in industry. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yes, thank you, Kuda. What happened is, I firmly believe if universities, particular public universities, do not solve the problems of communities they serve, then that university should be closed immediately, because they waste the taxpayers' money. And that is one of my beliefs, that's my belief. That's why every year we go to BIPA. It's not only do we wine and dine, really, they give us a nice treat, but that you will not go with me to that is an assessment involved. For everything you do, you must be assessed. So they are hard busy to prepare themselves for Friday for the session. And I need so Friday morning, 9 o'clock, we will be at BIPA. In fact, our first students for the elective, Ms. Vivian Kachonga, the CEO of BIPA, was here at the graduation also to acknowledge that because they don't have the manpower to do their research. So I work on something for those students who finish their research in the problem sent by BIPA, that we have an open day at BIPA, that they can share what is their recommendations based on their research, what happened or currently going on. I think there's only an office now in Swakopmund and a head office here. People don't know what is BIPA all about, and that people are really open. But one thing, and what we also discussed during the break, is that I don't understand, and I will mention it on Friday also, is that when it's voting time, then everything is in all the indigenous languages. Vote for me, vote for me, vote for me in all the different, Afrikaans, everything.
But not before.
But when it comes to these things, who sit with the knowledge? Can be most probably someone who's totally illiterate, who don't even understand English. But if, and as Nelson Mandela said, and I love to quote him, open the bracket. If you speak in the official language, you speak to someone's mind. This is why Nelson Mandela, the late Nelson Mandela, one of my heroes, learned on Robben Island to speak Afrikaans. Why? Because he said, if you speak in his mother tongue, you speak to his heart. And if we can move these things, it's about commercialization of intellectual property, entrepreneurship, etc., so many things. We have the things in place. But if we can translate it to the indigenous language,
It will have more impact.
it will have definitely more impact.
So essentially, this should be done not only on a seasonal basis, but right throughout, continuously. And another point, Doctor, if I may just circle back a little bit, what I liked what you said. So essentially, just to show the relevance of what our students are doing, they're not doing research just for the sake of research. So specifically the ones that work in the intellectual property space, they get problems from BIPA. So this is to say what BIPA is struggling with at a national level, pass that on to our students, they do research on it, and actually come up with recommendations which are then presented back, presented for reviewing and everything to BIPA. I like that.
Mm-hmm. So that's what it requests me. So that's for this coming. So we only have now the 2 outputs, after its graduation. Then they need to go with that.
What is this program? Sorry if I can just jump in a little bit, because we keep talking about these master's students. What exactly is this program called? What are they studying?
It's the Masters in Business Management. We have 2 master's degree in the business, in the management, governance and management. One is in HR and one is in business management. And very popular because I think it's our 3rd lawyer, and one is an advocate in the previous years. And then you won't believe it, that's why we fully fledged online. We have a South African Cape Town student, he's staying now in Italy, across Zimbabwe, the north, in Walvis Bay, across the country. So that, and that is a perfect one, as the previous dean dream was to take this master's degrees not only to Namibia, but take it across the globe.
Yes.
And there's really a high demand for that, and the students are every beginning of the year, and it will be lovely to see you next year with the official welcoming. We have official engagement like this year, and then we invite all, because I will only say the program is wonderful and the program is so good and so good. Then we invite the first intake, the second intake representative, that they can talk to the students when they elect for particular for their electives. We have 3 electives there, as commercialization of intellectual property and entrepreneurship. So I think it's 3, yeah. There are 3 electives, and then the research. So next year they go through the process of the research. So they already work with Dr. Sibanda, who's currently our research methodology lecturer, working on the problem. So when they are allocated to the supervisors, And I need to say, really, even our ED told me in the beginning of the year, she mentioned, and I will keep her to that promise, that she will take 2 of the honors master students for supervision, so that because they are so committed. And also Professor Atiku, Adel Bukovitz, and all of them. You see, that's so wonderful to work with that people who can really add value. And even if the dean with her busy schedule can opt at a welcoming remark in the beginning of the year when we were not very expensive, but for them to come to the first and the last time to Windhoek, except for the graduation.
No, which just brings me, we've spoken so extensively about what we're doing at institutional level and everything, just in terms of the programs that we're offering. But just to circle back a little bit, when we talk about research and intellectual property and all of that, how are we doing as a nation? Is this something that we're really familiar with? Is it a space that we've got a lot of things to look back at and say, okay, we've ticked this box or we've made impact in this area? So just on a national level, sorry for putting you in a spot, how are we doing? Where do we need to do better?
I think more research is absolutely needed, and there's so many challenging issues. Like I can recall years back, it was 8 years back, the founding father, for example, talk about, it was His Excellency Mr. Puamba, the president at the time, where they have the National Prayer Day in Karatura Stadium and everyone was invited. And the request came, what are we doing about this woman and child abuse? Is there research done about it? Why do men do that? And because females also do it to their men, and children for that matter. So we needed empirical evidence. And that's why I firmly believe if we do not attack problems through scientific research and disclose it, I mean, if you do the research like the Bible is there, if you read it or you don't read it, all of us got the Bible when we were confirmed in the church. That's always the gift and a big cake. But if you read it or not, it's not the parents' problem or your godparents' problem. You did the research, and it's always what I tell the students, you did the research. If they don't take it, it's their choice.
Sure.
So there's a lot of things.
I can't add anything to that.
Absolutely. But Doctor, can I take you back to your time in the United States? Of course, you had a Fulbright scholarship. What was that experience like, especially from a researcher's perspective, and a young one, I would say?
You know, it's a lengthy process to apply. Let me quickly give a background. And Fulbright, they offer for master's degrees, PhDs, and visiting scholars. So I went as a visiting scholar. And other areas you go. Yeah. The money is good. You are even a taxpayer.
Just.
And add, I came back with 16 suitcases on the plane.
What did you have in them?
Clothes.
Are you sure? I was about to say, Unda, do not
go there.
16 suitcases and you're a taxpayer.
You walked right into it.
The research there is absolute of another level. And the other thing is, while you talk about Fulbright, the most important thing that I learned there, we sit in a staff meeting, for example, with the dean of the faculty. It's a staff meeting, how they do it, say, for example, once a week for half an hour, not longer than half an hour. I learned a lot of softwares, which when I came back, I shared it with my students, like Podio, Collaborative Research Platform. I work on something now with them. And then Quillbot Premium and all that software, Grammarly, and all the things. But you know what? Something I discovered saw in the universities in the first world country is that now the reason why our students think America and the first world countries are better than us. You know why? Because if a student knock, irrespective of which meeting is on, the dean immediately, excuse me, I need to attend to a student's problem.
Oh, wow.
Here you must make an appointment, you can't get hold. And you see, that's why when I coordinated research for the first semester up to now, when a student called me, not that the student actually want to ask something work-related. I always tell the students, and that's something I learned, and that's what I really brought back with me, is I was always a caring, but then I saw, wow, there's a lot of loopholes still in that. If a student call back if you can't take the call that time. Sometimes the student want only a year because they're adults, they have families, they have work pressure, and they only don't want you to solve the problem, but you only to listen to them, and that can already contribute to that student. And I have a fantastic relationship. I'm not an easy lecturer, as you most probably heard. For me, it's you are late, and that. But for me, it's important to develop the student in his or her totality, to bring the best out of them. And that's why I believe, and that's why the most important thing I brought from the States, I was supposed to do 2 articles, research on that. I finished 4. 3 is now published. The 4th one we will submit tonight. And it's also accepted.
Oh, wow. I like that. Real time, hey?
Yeah.
Talking about publications real quick before I think our time is not on our side. Talking about publications, what are you keen on publishing on? Like, what have you published on? Or let me just speak in real time, like I said. What is this paper that you spoke about right now? What is it on?
It's community engaged scholarships. You know, there's a 4th pillar they add in Vienna. The university's rest on 3 pillars is now 4th. Community engage. You can't offer something to the community if there's no need for it. And I was at the HLC, the Honest Living Learning Community, is where the students get that support from the university, and the university should reach out to the communities they serve. Because you mentioned it in one of the questions earlier, university is supposed to be the factory of knowledge. Where does the raw material come from to produce that knowledge? It comes from the society who sit with that raw material, their problems, their challenges. And many times they sit also with the solution. And doesn't mean if you don't have an educated society, you must look down on them, because experience that community have, that can really impact what we can produce as universities or as a university.
What is your next goal in your career path? What is that one thing that you want so bad, especially in your academic space, to say, I must tick this box?
Oh, that's a hard one.
That one thing.
I always say, I cannot keep everyone, and I want to quote my ex-principal's word. You only need to keep 4 people happy, and your life is happy. It's the 2 persons next to you, the person in front of you, and the person at your back. Respect and see the need of only 4 people. The 2 persons next to you, the person in front of you, and the person at your back. If you keep that 4 people happy, and hope there's a snowball effect that 4 will make other 4 happy, and that 4 will make other 4 happy, then I believe the world is a better place. And then we can serve our purpose. I don't want to send out, there's nothing. Oh, people, there's nothing so ugly than an educated, disrespectful person. We always have an excuse for someone who's illiterate to be rude and educated and not sensitive to other people's feelings. But there's nothing worse for me than a so-called educated person who don't show any humanity and sensitivity.
So
and if I can...
No, but doctor, I'm not too sure. I'm trying to understand if you answered my question. I love the passion, but I'm like, was my question answered there to say, what is it that you want? So yes, we've mentioned compassion. I actually like the fact that we've circled back to
everyone, there's 2 things that's for sure.
Yeah.
Straight to the point. All of us must die, and change is for sure. That's the only 2 things that's for sure. Nothing else. The death and change or transformation for that matter. So when I leave this earth, in 20, 30 years' time, someone will read something or go through his documents or look at the subject on his academic record. 20, 30 years later, that student should say, wow, I wonder where is Dr. du Plessis? Because he taught me that in research. or that
that's
in
it.
then there's the legacy I talk about.
That's what we're talking about. Thank you.
Well, that unfortunately brings us to the end of Research Matters with Unda and Kuda in today's episode. But of course, don't forget you can always check out our Research Matters episodes on our Research Innovation and Partnership that is on our NUST YouTube pages, pardon me, but you can also look at all our snippets and just follow our Instagram pages. That is on Facebook, and the handle is at NUST FM. And don't forget to follow Research Innovation and Partnerships at NUST Facebook pages as well as their LinkedIn. But until next time, it is goodbye, and we will see you in a few weeks.